Listen, it's your life. You can lay it on with whoever you want. But I want you to remember this. It's not just an exchange of chemistry. It's also an exchange of energy. So be very careful with who you choose, because you're taking in their energy and you're giving them yours. Be blessed. Stay safe.
Welcome back to another episode of HAMMAD ṭAALIB-DIN podcast, where we sit down with artists, thinkers, and truth tellers who are shifting culture through creativity and self-awareness. Today's guest is a powerful voice in emotional wellness, a self-taught musician, and an artist whose words land like healing spells. Please welcome Rafiq, Abdul Maalik to the show. Rafiq, it's an honor to have you with us, man.
Hey, Assalamu alaikum, bro. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be here, man.
Walaikum salam. Thank you very much for being here with us, man. It's
Yes, hey, where's
I must say, man, it's like it took me some time to actually get this show going, and
right, right.
there were so many people that I had lined up, and for me it was a certain
Yeah.
order that I wanted to go through, and your name was definitely right there in the beginning, and it was just a
All
matter of
right.
just timing and everything, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, cool, man. Cool, cool.
Yeah, man.
Yes,
So
man.
I want to get more on like a little bit back on just the origins of, with you, like, take us back to Bermuda. When did you realize, or when did you first realize you had something unique to say? And how did music or art became part of your voice?
Okay. So as far as artwork goes, I've been very artistically inclined, I would say, most of my life as far as drawing, painting, and things like that. I noticed I had a knack for it around about 8 or 9 years old, and I started with just a lot of mimicry and trace work and things like that, and then I eventually migrated to uh, kind of copying a lot of pieces, and then eventually from there, I just started doing my own stuff. But coming into high school, I took every single art course on the curriculum. Like when I got in my last year of high school, there was nothing left for me to take artistically. Like even all the practical classes, I took all the practical classes, textile design. I did the D&Ts, I did the graphic design classes. But I would say when I left high school, I kind of branched away from art for about a little under 10 years, probably.
Hmm.
So from there, I got into the music. And with the music, it was a funny thing. My brother, he was in a high school band. And eventually he got really, really good at it. His band, they were bad current. They were all over the island doing shows and all that kind of stuff. And I was intrigued by it, but I wasn't intrigued enough to partake, straight away. So what had happened was I got in a really bad bike accident, and I was kind of homebound for about 7 or 8 months.
Hmm.
And I'm just seeing these guitars just kicking around the house. I'm like, hey, I should pick that up and just pick one up. I started to fool around a little bit with it. And then my brother, he started to show me some concepts, some different things, how to fret, how to do a picking pattern, um, chord shapes and things like that. And then from there, I eventually started to learn on my own. And the way I learned was not through um, learning concepts and practicalities. I learned from picking up a specific skill. So what I would do was I would start to learn a song based on like a really basic song, and I would pick up the skills as I'm learning the song. So I would hit a skill floor when I reached a song that was too difficult for me to play. Now I have to learn a new set of skills to be able to play that song.
Mm.
So that's how I eventually progressed. So I'm proud to say today I can play rock, I can play heavy metal, I can play Finnish music, I can play punk, I can play now fusion rock, jazz, blues, um, and now I can play classical. It's a funny thing. A lot of people say with classical music, with a musician or guitarist, when you're into the rock and roll stuff, as you get older, you mature into classical because it's more of a disciplinary, a very disciplined practice. It's like for a person playing rock and roll or punk music, playing classical is like trying to learn Chinese backwards.
Mm.
Like it was it was that difficult. But
Wow.
yeah, so I eventually got that done, and at this point, I can pretty much play just about anything, as long as I put the time into practice the music. And if there's a concept I haven't learned yet, I put my time into that. So then I migrated back to artwork, and that's what happened. So I would say about just around the time me and you started talking seriously about artwork, I had only I had just got back into it about a year, maybe just under a year. So I was doing um, uh, alcohol-based markers and pens and pencil work. And then eventually I got into the digital thing. So I had to I wasn't happy with my standard. So I had to kind of go back to the drawing board and relearn how to draw everything. Like I
Mm.
went back to anatomy, I went back to perspective drawing. I went to there were so many different concepts I had to relearn because I was on a basically a mediocre level. You know what I mean? I wasn't I didn't have the expertise as a real artist. I still consider myself a rank amateur when
Mhm.
it comes to artwork. So if most people that can draw would say I'm good, I would say I was better than the average person, but I needed to push myself a little farther. So around the time I did the last piece that I did for you, that was a year straight of literally seminars, 2 and 3 hour seminars on YouTube and just on the computer like night after night trying to learn different things. And then the digital aspect of it, that was a whole nother rabbit hole. So that was like 2 years of just hours and hours of seminars trying to learn the programs, all the different tools and troubleshooting the problems that come with the programs and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, it was a very nail biting experience, but I enjoy it. You know what I mean? You're falling asleep at the computer and you wake back up and like, hey, let's do another hour. You know? So yeah, man,
I mean, what did
it
that
was
learning journey, like, what did it teach you about discipline, its trust, and self-expression?
well, what I realized with the discipline side of it made me more business aware, and
Mm.
it just made me more disciplined in general when it comes to I finally broke free of procrastination,
Mhm.
and a lot of people struggle with that. And I'm happy to say, like at this point in my life, when I feel like there's anything that I need to do, it's on a list and it's not far from being done. If it can actually get started, we start it. Or if it can be completed, we just complete it. You know, I don't put things on a list to do and just let it linger. It's like that's got to get done. That's got to get done. So when I started to get serious again with artwork, it kind of shifted me to a business mental to whereas so now I work a job. Unfortunately, I had to take a back seat on artwork because my current job is so demanding. I haven't really had the time to do as much artwork as I would like. So every now and then I might do a little piece of artwork for somebody,
Hmm.
but I'm not as active as I was when we was talking, you know what I mean? Um, but what it did for me, it helped literally change my whole entire life. You know, I ended up moving about a couple years ago, and I was staying in a small place, and at that point, I just had my computer and I had a dresser and some clothes. So I was basically working morning, noon, and night. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So I was working from about 2 o'clock in the afternoon to 10 o'clock at night, and then getting up at around 11, doing little jobs for people on the computer, and then going back to work. And I worked like that for like a year and a half straight. So then I got this place, and things have been things been amazing
Hmm.
because that new mentals just centered me, and it's just gave me this kind of power that I never had. And when you get to the point, I feel like when you get to the point in life where you break free from all the normalcies that so many people struggle with, you realize like there is no limit. It's all about what you're willing to sacrifice to get where you need to go.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So that art journey kind of it transcribed itself to every other aspect of my life.
Hmm.
So I just changed so many things. I changed the way I dress. I make sure I always get up early, even on the weekend. It's like if you get up early, you're always ahead of the game.
That's right.
So you need, you know what I mean? You need to sleep in a couple of days here and there. That's fine, you know, but generally I like to get up early because if I have any plans, you know, I'm ahead of myself. So right now I'm working. I get up at 4:30 in the morning and I get home about 5:30 in the evening. Pretty long day.
Yeah.
So when I could take a little bit of time here and there to grab a little, you know, a little time to do a little artwork for somebody or whatever the case may be, I grab a little time here, a little time there, you know, when I can. But I currently don't have anything serious as far as this piece behind me, this piece here.
Hmm.
Um, I'll show it to you. This is a piece I was working on for a line of tapestries I was going to do based on Edinburgh City, right?
Uh-huh.
And it was going to be a bunch of different landmarks. This was
Yeah.
one of a volume of 10, but I haven't got around to making them all yet because I've just been so busy.
Yeah.
So when I can get back around to it, then the project, I can let the project take off. I already have the ordering company, and I have all the different things lined up for it. And once I can kind of get those projects done, then I can get them out. I can sell them. They have this thing called the Lunar Market. That's a place I can go and I can actually display my art,
Hmm.
and you know we can do that. Um, the long term goal, I would say the long term goal originally was find find a lane I can work in that is kind of like it's mine.
Hmm.
Because competing with a whole lot of artists that can work just as well as me or 10 times better than I can and produce higher quality work, you can't compete with them. So find a lane that you can perform in that is kind of your own arena.
Hmm.
That means you can now you get a consumer base that they just like your product. It doesn't matter if yours is the best. You have a completely unique product. So it's like I've just been trying to find what is going to be my unique uh, line of art.
Hmm.
Something that, like, for example, um, it's a It's a clothing line that's kind of got a gothic style of art mixed with a lot of floral and colorful designs,
Okay.
and it just took off. He isn't the best artist on the market, but his artwork has such a unique style. He's always going to make money, you know. So that was kind of the idea. Once I can get myself back centered into going more, being more active with my art, I can find. I've already came up with a style of a different style of drawing. So if I can incorporate that into something that is unique and attractive, then I can now sell that without worrying about competing with people that are just online doing everybody else is doing. Yeah. So
That makes sense. And I mean, we share the same thought process when it comes to that, because I feel like,
yeah,
there's so many people out there. And what I learned over the years is talking with different, business people, or just even the business motivators and those who even in the market, some of them I
yeah,
question. I say, hey, what's different that you did that everybody else is not that's not that are not doing? And they just had to stay in my
exactly.
lane. All of them pretty much say I stayed in my
Hmm.
lane, and I just kept on going, kept on going, kept on going. And
Yeah.
find like even with some fast food restaurants, to give an example, even though it's a different type of business, they are like
Mm,
burger shakes and fries for years. Let me just open up more stores here, more stores there.
mm,
Burger shakes and fries. And once they spread out, then they start introducing
hmm.
a little Happy Meal here, or a little chicken here, and some salad for those who's
Yeah, yeah,
healthy. So that whole
exactly.
concept is, I like that, man, because that's where I'm at
Mm,
right now. Whereas like I'm not even
hmm.
worrying about the outside world, although I do look, because we all get inspired by many different, people, or
Of
just
course.
so that's why I do it, but I just stay within my own lane. And I always say
Mm,
to myself, they're not going to outwork me. Well, that's one thing
hmm.
for sure. You might be better than me in this particular skill
Yep.
set. You might have this over me. You might have more resources than me, like financial wise, but
Hmm.
you're not going to outwork me. And eventually, when I get there,
Yes.
all that work that I've done, the reward is much better.
It's coming back.
It's
Yep.
coming back, like,
Yep.
you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And so when I started seeing you getting back into a whole new groove of things with the fixed speak,
Mm,
I was like, man,
yeah.
I was like, what, this guy is spying on me in my house? Like, he's spying on me at work, and I'm like, what you know what I'm saying? So I was like, this is just right on point. And then it's like, and
Oh man.
it's amazing because, see, one thing about me, like, I realized, okay, getting to the social media realm of things, where people
Right.
are more like, okay, how many followers you got? How many this you got? How many that
Yeah.
you got? How many? And I'm like, but did you hear what this guy just said? Did you
Uh-huh.
see what this lady, what she's doing? And it's like
Mm,
people tend to overlook substance because, okay, you probably just starting out. And then it's like
hmm.
maybe you have to like dig in deep more to get more information about how to do things on
Yeah.
social media. But I was like, but the
Yeah.
substance is something that is going to help take me to that next level. So for
Yeah.
me, I was like, was there a defining moment that made you turn your thoughts into like public inspiration? Like, what pushed you to start recording and sharing that?
Hey, listen, I want you to remember this. If you ever apply for a job without being noticed on your way out, pay very meticulous attention to the faces of the employees. Because their faces will tell you what kind of work environment you're about to expose yourself to. Life is rough enough, and the last thing you need is a toxic work environment. And I know you need to make money, but not at the cost of this earth. Be blessed. Stay safe.
Well, that's a very interesting question for you to ask. To be fair, I look at this journey that I've been on in the last 2 years, and um, like when I started this journey, because I was married and everything like that, had a family. Unfortunately, mashallah, we parted ways. So I've kind of just been doing my own thing, and the whole process of starting over, um, the strength that you have to navigate the world when it's just you, it can do one or two things. Um, you can be made or you can be broken.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And if you're not broken, you're made. And so it's like it's kind of like what they say, a sword is forged by a hammer and fire. You see what I'm saying? So when that sword is being forged, there are times when the sword breaks and they have to start over.
Mhm.
So I had a very, very rough experience when I kind of first got off the ground, I didn't have a job. I had to get a brand new job because at that time, I was home taking care of my kids. Um, so I had to get a brand new job. I got a job. I hustled. I got promoted. I hustled again. I got promoted again. So within that 2 years, I've just been an unstoppable force. And that experience opened my chakras, bro. You know what I mean? I see the world in such a different way than most people do now. My whole aura's changed, my energy's changed, my mindset's changed. And I said, Rafiq, you cannot not share some of this energy with the rest of the world. It would be a crime if you didn't share this energy. So the way I view the world now, the way I see things, I'll be walking and I just hear something in my head. I came up with a quote. I heard something. I was like, that's a nugget. That's gonna be on Feek Speaks next week. You know what I mean? It's like that. And the great thing is I'm putting the messages out there because I want to help other people find this same kind of energy that I found. And I want it to help people shape their lives because there's a lot of people out there, man, that are, you know, not in the best place and just kind of don't know where to turn to find the answers.
Very true.
And you might find a social media influencer and they might be the focus point of your drive to the top. Like um I got a mate named Tory Wine. He's a influential speaker as well, but he's a fitness influencer as well. He's a fitness trainer. And me and him we're really close. We've been good friends for a very, very long time now. And he said something to me the other day, because we talk every day. And he said to me, there's a guy that messaged me and he said, listen, thank you so much for your quotes, for your motivation, for your training videos. You you don't know how much you've helped me in my life. You don't know how much you've done for me. And he said, hey, Fig, you better keep speaking because you could literally be being somebody's life source and not even know it. You know what I mean? So it's like, you cannot stop making these videos. And I know I'm helping people because I see a lot of people out there right now, a lot of old friends and people that I know in Bermuda, people in Bahamas. I know some of their stories. I know a lot of them have been through some really hard times, especially 2025 with all the propaganda, the agendas, and the different things going on. It's rattling these communities and shaking people apart, and people are lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it could just take a quote or something from somebody. What's the phrase I want to say? Let's say some people are just one push away from a bad day, you
Mhm.
know, like one push away from just getting pushed over the edge. But your quote or your words or your actions could be that experience that could nudge them back off of the edge, back in stability. You know what I'm saying? So I have personally seen people posting videos and pictures on their Instagrams and their Facebooks. Some individuals that I've seen that I could tell have been having some difficulties with life, and I can see that things have been changing for them. I don't know if I've had an influence on those people, but I kind of feel like I have because a lot of them have reached out to me. Some people inbox me and they come in my stories. Sometimes they inbox me from my stories and say, "Thank you for that message. Thank you for that video. You know, I appreciate what you said because that resonated with me today." So, you know, it's like I don't care if the videos don't get views, well, not views, likes. I don't care if they don't get comments. I just care about the views because the views means you saw it. It means he saw it. It means she saw it. And she may have not commented, but that may have gave her something to take home with her when she leaves work this afternoon,
That's right.
you know? So, yeah. So the reason I decided to do the pool table thing because it's like I feel like if you're not doing something interesting, people don't always tune in. But if you're doing something interesting, people tune in. So the purpose is to grab your attention with something unique so that you can still get the message.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But so yeah, it's been a great experience. I'm really enjoying doing these videos, and you know, a friend of mine was like, "Well, you don't think it's a little cliche what you're doing? Um, wearing a button up, shooting at the pool table with that." I said, "No, it's not cliche.
Mhm.
You know, it's a unique thing I came up with, and if it grabs people attention, that's great.
Yes,
If it doesn't grab someone's attention, that's great.
that's right. That's right.
The message is for who wants to receive it, is for who decides to tune in.
Absolutely.
Because I believe that Allah's universe is designed to give what it has to give to those that need to have it. So where I am right now, bro, whatever comes in my path, I know it's for me. If I missed it, it wasn't my time, or it wasn't mine.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, so that's the Feek Speaks thing right now.
Yeah.
Every now and then when I get some time, I drop a little something on it. You know, I try to be consistent, but I can't do it every week because I'm just so busy.
Yeah.
So I try to like maybe every 2 weeks or 3 weeks or I'll drop one. You know what I mean? But but yeah, yeah.
Those
So
are real gems, man. I mean, like just one message can really carry you for a month if you actually stay consistent. I mean, the person receiving it,
yeah,
you
yeah,
can
yeah,
it can keep
yeah.
you on grounded. You know, like they in the military, you have boot camp for 3 months, and the whole purpose of boot camp is just to get you prepared for what's to come. And
Right.
having the message, you take in that message, and that right there can help just, I would say, alter your or adjust your mind for you to take
Yes.
on what's to come next. Like one of your standout messages, you know who you are, and that's enough. Like, why do
Yes.
you think so many
Yes.
people wrestle with that truth?
I want you to remember this. There is a different version of you living rent free right now in somebody else's head. And in many cases, those perceptions of you are based around somebody else's opinions. know who you are to those that matter, and to everyone else, reserve their thoughts to a seat of irrelevance. Be blessed, stay safe.
I think the problem is we live in a society that is very defined by the image of oneself. And most importantly, with social media has such a deep impact on society right now. Social media has changed so many things. It's changed the way people hang out and socialize. It's changed and influenced events. It's changed the dating market. It's changed so many different things. Before we had pop culture and we had mass media and we had, of course, we had the news and all that. But now we have social media, and social media, in my opinion, is the most influential factor in our current society that is just grabbing hold of everybody, you know? So I think the problem is people wrestle with the sense of, can I be who I am and be enough or not? But I think the problem is who I am enough for everyone else around me? Once people realize the human experience is internal before it's external, it changes the game. Because everything that you think and feel, everything that you feel out in the world, it's all based on, everything you experience is based on how you feel. Now, outside of physical interactions, your emotional response to the world is based on you internally. So if you can shift your mindset and just think about, view it in a different way, you can shift your whole energy. You know, it's like, I have a lot of friends that struggle with being depressed. I said, well, do you get sunlight? Do you socialize with friends? Do you do things that give you, do you focus on spiritual wellness? You need to go outside. You need to hear the birds chirp. You need to feel the breeze on your face. You need to hear the leaves rustle. You need to see the colors of the world, because all that makes chemical reactions in your brain that help to create emotional wellness.
That's right.
You need to ground your feet to the earth and feel those electromagnetic charges.
That's right.
All those kinds of things are important. So, and then do a little exercise and do a little bit of maybe some weight training or something like that. If you haven't done all those things, you haven't given yourself a real chance. So you should try all of that before you go to a doctor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm not saying rule that out, but try those things first, because you could be cutting yourself off from things that you really need. And now you don't understand why you're going through what you're going through. And I kind of also think a lot of us tend to suppress our problems. And when you bury a problem and you have another one and you bury five more on top of that, now you forget the first problem. And that first problem might be forgotten by the mind, but the heart doesn't forget it. So the body suffers. Now you don't know why. You know what I mean? So it's just about, you got to have conversations with yourself all the time. And you got to speak to God all the time.
That's right.
You know? And just, I think also that other thing you were saying about being enough for yourself, once you start focusing on you and be a little more selfish, you start to get right. You might piss a lot of people off in the process, because a lot of a lot of people think you're supposed to be about them, you know, but you got to look after yourself, number one. My world is my kids, then me. Everybody else comes after that. You know what I mean? So as long as I keep that system of rules, I'm not doing anything wrong. You know what I mean? I would say after me, my mom. You know what I mean? So, and then everybody
And
else.
everybody
So
else.
yeah, yeah, man.
That's reassuring, man, because in life, especially as in life as an adult, even with teenagers, as we start going through our changes and everything, we feel that we have to be with a significant other or someone else to bring that happiness to us or that reassuring or
Yeah.
just, to make ourselves feel whole. Like you had a
Hmm.
video saying, be careful who you lay with. Like you explore the idea
Yes.
of energy exchange in a relationship. Like what inspired that piece
Yes.
and how do we protect ourselves without becoming emotionally closed off?
Bro, that's an interesting one. Sorry. Um, I believe just like the earth has a magnetic field, we all have our own magnetic fields. And I think a magnetic field is just a scientific way to explain an aura or your energy. And everything that has an aura and energy is living. The planet is living as well, you know? And we're all living. And this is why when you take your shoes off, you're supposed to take your shoes off and go outside and put your feet on the ground. We wear shoes 24/7 and when we're disconnecting ourselves from the planet. But the planet re-energizes us. So our aura and the planet's aura connects. So the thing with when you sleep with people, I find that a lot of people that have too many partners end up having too many emotional problems.
Mm.
And that those emotional problems people try to correlate to uh, experiences that cause traumas.
Mm.
That is one side of it. But the other side of it is every time you have a partner, you exchange energies. And now you don't know what these foreign energies you're bringing into yourself. Now you become a conflicted human being and you don't know what emotional ailment, what the emotional ailment came from. So me personally, myself, I read people and whenever I'm dating a person, I put them through a very heavy screening process. I read their mannerisms, their voice tones, their behaviors, their actions. And sometimes I just get a vibe and I'm like, not this person, you know? I'm just like, there's just something about this person. They're nice, they're kind, but there's something wrong here. I feel it. And that sometimes will make me decide not to date somebody, you know? So I think not everybody is as perceptive. I personally believe the spiritual eye is something that some people have. It
Yes.
can be developed, but it also can be gifted to you, you know, by the Almighty.
Mhm.
Um, and I think it can be acquired through deep meditation and just experiences and becoming more spiritually and self-aware. And I personally experience a lot of these experiences, and sometimes I would just feel something about a person, and I'm like, that's not a person I want to be around,
Mhm.
you know? But, or I might meet somebody and something about them, we click right away. It's not even something we've said or done together. It's just like, I really feel this person. You ever get a sensation where sometimes you're thinking about somebody really, really strongly, and then they show up around the corner?
Yeah, yeah, several times.
That was that is a moment of spiritual perception.
Mhm.
And we don't always tap into it. It sometimes happens every now and then to certain people, but
Mhm.
I feel like it's a real thing.
Yeah.
So to protect myself, what I do is I spend a lot of time paying attention to the way people behave, the way they talk, the way their mannerisms and things like that. So um, I feel like you can listen to a person talk every day. They can say, "Hey, I love you." They can say, "Hey, you're the best person in my life." They can say, but drown all that noise out and just watch.
Hmm.
You drown that noise out and just watch a person. Sometimes they're telling you a completely different story
Yeah.
from what their mouth is telling you.
Yeah. That is so
And
true.
that's how I watch. I watch how they move. And when I see how they move, that's how I determine how
That's
I
it.
move.
That's it. Like they
You
can
know?
tell you they love you until the cows come home, but if they treat you like crap, there's your answer.
Yep. Hey, hey, that's it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think another very important thing as far as like relationships and people, a lot of people don't know the power of being by yourself.
Mm.
You know, there was a point where I took a very long break from dating. And I said, I need to focus on me because I need to feel this isolation. I need to feel it. I need to know what it's like every day to wake up by myself, to not hang out, to not go out and go to parties with friends, to not go to social events, to not, I need to completely immerse myself in progression
Hmm.
and just self awareness. So when I went through that little period, I found that I was making strides and I was making progresses in record time.
Mm.
People were seeing me one week and then a month from now seeing me like, that's the same guy.
Mm.
Like, and I'm so glad I did that because it gave me a strength now that if I ever meet anyone, whether it be a girl or whether it just be a friend, an associate, if I don't like their energy, they are gone. They are just gone. Like one time,
Oh
we'll
yeah.
have one conversation about it and be like, look, I can't chill with you. I can't talk to you. I can't hang around you. If it's a person that is a friend of mine and our friendship is messing with my energy, yeah, they gotta go. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I'm happy to say that's where I am. And that was actually one of the topics I was going to speak about. Learn the power to let go.
Yeah.
When you learn the power to let go, I think that's one of the greatest powers a human being can have because now you're not orientated or restricted by your feelings towards I need to have this person in my life, or I need to have this friend, or I need to have this girlfriend, or this wife, or this husband, or all that kind of stuff there. If a person betrays you, you gotta cut them off.
Hmm. Hmm.
Or it just depends on the level. Like if it's a friend and you had a disagreement, they said something to somebody they shouldn't have said, you talk about it. If you work through it and it doesn't happen again, cool. If it's something of a more drastic nature, then hey, I can't deal with you. And then that's it. Once I found that power, I just became a whole different person, man. You know, it's just
Yeah.
I just feel like a different being. You know, I'm only grounded in one thing. There is there is one there is one aspect of my life that can never change, and that's being a father. I will always be a father.
Hmm.
You know, I will always be a father. I might not always be a boyfriend. I might not always be a husband, but I will always be a father.
Hmm.
Everything else, I have the power to say, this is not working. That's got to go.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's what's up. You've called out toxic work environments in a way that hit home. Like, what do you think
Mm.
people sacrifice for the sake of a paycheck, and what's the deeper cost?
Well, I think a lot of people's emotional distress is deeply tied to their workplace. So the thing is, there are two very distinct patterns at play with life. You're going to be in two very specific environments 99% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
1% of the time, you're going to be in a random place. The other 99%, you'll either be at work or you'll be at home.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe my ratios are a little off, but just saying, you're going to either be work or you're going to be home. So if you're at home, the people that are at home, you'll have problems or you won't have problems. That's just life. You and your mom had an argument, or your girlfriend or yourself, or your boyfriend or yourself, or your husband, wife, whatever, your kids, maybe your kids are acting out. There is always problems in the home. That's natural. But then the problems at work, they can't be just as bad because now you're having problems at home and now you're having problems at work. So where do you get peace? So it's like, I feel like people sometimes sell their soul for a paycheck. They'll work a job they absolutely hate, for bosses they can't stand, for coworkers they don't want to be around, and they become a miserable person at work, and then they bring that energy home.
Hmm.
And then it's bad for their kids, their spouses, and all that stuff. And you actually spend more time at work than you do anywhere else. You spend more time at work than you do. Uh, I would say you spend just as much time as work as you do sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel it's so important you don't necessarily have to have your dream job, but the job has to constitute stability.
Mm-hmm.
It just has to. If it doesn't, now you got life problems and work problems. And then you go home and, you know, you're dreaming about work.
Hmm.
Now you're really having problems. So I'm happy to say I work a job that's not stressful. It's long hours, but my coworkers are great. My work is great, you know? So there was a time where I worked a job where I wasn't really happy, and that job was bad enough. And then, you got life issues on the side and you got that. And it's like, well, where do you get peace? So that's why I stress whenever looking for a job, as I was saying, you walk in, you should be reading that environment the moment your foot hits that door. When that boss is screening you to see if you're a worthwhile employee to have in his company, you should be equally screening him to see what kind of nature he has,
That's
so
right.
that you have an insight on how he's going to treat you as an employee,
That's right.
you know? So I'm casing everybody up when I get in there, right? From the president all the way to the doorman when I leave,
That's
you
right.
know? So that's how you gotta do it, man. But and I found I was my personality, I've kind of become a bit more serious.
Mhm.
I used to be a little more lax and a little more kind of relaxed, the fun guy, the jokey guy. And I realized the fun guy and the jokey guy gets no respect. He gets walked on,
Yep.
you know. He gets played for a joke, played for a fool.
Mhm.
And it's funny. Me and my mate, we was talking the other day, my mate Tori, and I pulled up a picture and I sent it to him. I said, "You remember when I used to look like this?" And I said, when I put that character side by side to my current person, he was like, they're two different people.
Mm.
These are two different people. They don't even look like the same person. And that kind of reminded me why I couldn't be that character anymore, you know? And a friend of mine asked me at work, why do you always dress so nice for work? Because we have a certain way we dress, but he's like, you dress like you're in the top office. I'm like, you got the big long coat on and the turtleneck sweater and this. And it's like, man, why you wear all that? Just wear your polo and your nice and your dress pants and your shoes. I said, well, you wouldn't understand. And I feel like a lot of people don't really understand this. When you live in a predominantly not non-black country, the minority a lot of times gets judged from jump. And I don't believe it's a racial thing. I think it's a cultural thing
Yes.
because race and culture go side by side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like based on me as a black person, you will assume my culture. A lot of and in this country particularly, there are a lot of people that don't know about the rest of the world. They only know what they see on TV.
Yes.
Um, I know there's a lot of people that travel, and I've met a lot of those people. Great conversations, they're very open-minded. But there are people that have lived in their same town for all their life, haven't traveled, and they only know what they see on TV. So that becomes their reality and their perception of every other culture of people.
Yeah.
So I find some people are very intimidated by me as a black man. You might have a woman walk across the street on the opposite side because we're the only people on the street and it's just getting ready to go dark. I don't take it personal, but I understand the fear because you fear what you don't understand. You know what I mean? So out of not just my personal preference, but because I want to be a person that people can embrace and not be afraid of, I make sure I dress well. And I also dress well because I don't want to be disrespected by people. I don't necessarily need your respect, but I don't need your disrespect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So people oh, well, he wants to be respected. No, that's not the goal. I don't need to be validated or exalted by people. I just don't want to be disrespected by people. And I find when I dress well, people take me seriously and they're careful about how they treat me and how they talk to me, you know? So, like, one example, I went into a Boss Depot to Lost and Found to pick up my wallet. I had lost my wallet. I had phoned the other branch and they told me to go there and to collect it. When I walked in, there was a lady on the desk and I said, ma'am, I'm just here to pick up my wallet. I was told to come here. You was told to come here by who? Said, your other branch told me to come here. How do they know your wallet's here? I said, well, they told me, ma'am, you need to make an appointment. I said, well, I wasn't aware of that. And she's like, well, um, I don't know who told you your wallet was here. I said, ma'am, I can phone them up for you if you wish. I won't be doing that. I said, well, ma'am, I'm a very busy man. I need my wallet because there's identification in there I need for my second site. I don't have a whole lot of time to wait. Now, how early can I make my appointment, please? The wallet is brown. There are 4 IDs, 3 bank cards, and a key card ID that I do desperately need. So I would like to know, at your earliest convenience, when can I get an appointment? And her energy shifted. This man talks proper. He is not getting rattled and angry. He dressed well. I don't know where he works. I don't know who he works for. I don't know who I might piss off if this guy doesn't get his wallet right now. That's what I'm thinking she is now come to the conclusion of because her energy just changed. Your wallet is here, sir. I will have it brought to you. I said, thanks. Next time, be sure that I will make an appointment. I always try to sound as accommodating as possible. So when I learned that, I said, you will never see me another day wearing a long shirt, old jeans, and beat up shoes. Never again.
Mhm.
Now, I might wear a pair of jeans and some chucks to go to the store and buy my milk. You know what I mean? But but 90% of the time, I just dress smart casual. And some people think it's a persona thing. Nope. I know what the power of dressing well can do for me. So I make sure I always do that. I get comments sometimes. I walked in the store and this guy came up to me and he said, "How you doing?" He shook my hand. This was a couple of weeks back. And I was just a bit caught off guard because I wasn't sure what this guy wanted. And he said, "Hey man, I just want to say you have too much style." So I just busted out laughing because I just thought it was funny. And the guy's like, "No, man, seriously, man." He's like, bro, no, seriously, bro, you got too much style." He just it was hilarious, man. But I was like, it's reasons like that that I need to remember. Your mom tell you this too. Dress well. Always dress well. So yeah, that's that vibe, man, you know?
That's cool, man, and that's very important. And the way you handle yourself when corresponding with that lady is something where in our culture we have to be perceived
Hmm.
as, thuggish, obnoxious, belligerent,
Aggressive.
aggressive,
Yup.
and
Hmm.
people don't understand like being intelligent emotionally is how you able
Yes.
to get through doors and rooms where people would
Yes.
never ever perceive they'll
Yes,
be
bro.
there. You know what I'm saying? So like you
Yes, bro.
you even had a video that said emotional intelligence is not weakness. So why do you think
Yes.
emotional awareness is still seen as soft, especially amongst men?
Well, nah, I ain't trying to get canceled, right? So let me just say, I feel like agendas have kind of pioneered those ideals, you know, but I also think some of it's a little old school as well. It's like, nah, man, I can't be soft. I'm gotta be hard. No, man, no. Stand your ground always. But the most powerful man in the room is always the man who stays composed in every situation,
That's
even when he's confronted with confrontation. If you're calm and relaxed, that guy that's fuming at the mouth, he wants to know why you're not afraid, why you're not fuming at the mouth too. What does this guy know that I don't know?
Mhm.
That he's so calm, and it might make that person second guess why they're behaving that way, you know? But I feel I feel emotional intelligence is a thing that we don't focus on a lot, and I think men in particular have had to hide themselves emotionally
Mhm.
because of being judged for being emotional or just being chanted or chastised for it. I think we currently live in a society where men are not allowed to express themselves, uh, express their emotions and their feelings without being judged for it.
Mhm.
And um, I sometimes feel this way, like not do not emotionally expose yourself to females in particular. Don't open yourself up too much emotionally because then you may be looked upon as a weak man. But I think some men take it to an extreme, whereas they don't want to open up at all because they feel like any chink in the armor is just going to make them look uh worthless, or look like a complete weakling or nobody.
Mhm.
So I feel like it's very important for people to understand that, emotional behavior, not necessarily, crazy, belligerent behavior, but just to be sad and upset, to cry, you know, to experience those things. It's not a feminine trait; it's a human trait.
That's right.
Because every human being cries, every human being feels happiness, sadness, depression, anxiety, PTSD. All that is human. It's not male or female.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I don't know what the real cause of it is, but I just feel that we should embrace our men and their emotions. We should allow them to have their feelings. We should allow them to express themselves, and just like we allow our females to express themselves. But I do understand men don't want to be perceived as weak, and they don't want to open up. A lot of them don't want to open up to women in that way. But when you find a woman that you can open up to in that way, it's such a blessing, and it's a beautiful experience.
Mm-hmm.
When you can sit there and you can tell her about an experience you had or are currently having, and it was hard, and you felt this and you felt that, and she doesn't judge you and she gives you the embrace. Men need to feel that.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know
100%.
they need to feel that. And I feel like a lot of that today just isn't, it's not really going around like that.
Mm-hmm.
you know
Yeah.
so yeah.
The
Yeah.
the idea of releasing weight of past mistakes. What would you say to
hmm
someone who can't stop replaying their worst moments?
mm. So based on past mistakes, right, I think when it comes to that, I think the biggest issue there is ego. I think we have to let our egos go, because it hurts to know when you've done wrong, and it hurts to know when you've messed up. It also, it hurts to know when you've lost something and it was your fault,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
you've did something that cost you something, and it was you to blame for that. The problem, I think, is, have you dealt with it in this way? You've lost it. How have you made up for it?
That's right. That's right.
How have you made up for the things you've lost? And there are things that you can't control that you will lose in life. And I don't know what the answer is for that. Some people lose people, you know, and that pain will never disappear. But I would say it becomes more bearable with time. It becomes something different.
Mm-hmm.
But we always keep it with us, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as making mistakes, we have to acknowledge that we're not perfect. I don't like the word perfection because the very word is a fallacy. You know, to be perfect would suggest that there is no inconsistency.
Mm-hmm.
Even the earth has inconsistency in it. It's not a perfect sphere.
Mm-hmm.
It bulges at the poles. It doesn't go in a perfect orbit around the sun. It's tilted on its axis, which causes the solstices. It doesn't orbit the sun in a perfect circle. It's an elliptical orbit like every other planet that orbits the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Allah's design is imperfection. It's perfectly imperfect.
Imperfect, yeah.
And so we are as well. So when you make a mistake, make peace with yourself if you have done everything to circumvent the aftermath of that mistake.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't addressed it, or you haven't made right with it, with the people or the situation, then do that and hopefully you get closure. But I feel like you have to forgive yourself for making a mistake, and I think part of that is you have to have a good relationship with yourself and you have to have a level of self-love that you can go in your head, sit down side by side and have that conversation and say, hey man, you screwed up, right? I know. We fixed it though, didn't we? Yeah. So let it go, man. Or if you really feel like this, go fix it, you know? So I think it's the ego in particular. We have a persona of self, and some of us, we tend to forget we're not perfect beings. Yeah.
Another one of your standout messages, excuse me,
Right.
is sometimes you're looking at the problem the wrong way. How do you know when it's time
Yes.
to shift perspectives instead of pushing harder?
I think to know when it's time to shift perspectives is when you've reached a point where there's nothing more you can do about that issue. If you've tried to circumnavigate every possible convenience to fix it and it still hasn't changed, then now you have to look at it. What positive do I get out of this versus the negative? Like some people may say, hey man, I only get to see my kids every weekend, you know? Or man, I only uh I only have 8 hours of work. Or man, my house is only this big. You can shift your perspective and your mindset to at least my house is this big. I get to see my children every weekend because some people don't get to see their kids at all. I have 8 hours of work and enough just to pay my bills. Some people don't have a job at all. When your mindset changes, your experience changes, you know, and it's not easy, you know. I have days where I feel like some things I wish were different. And I'm like, man, I really wish I had this, man. I really wish I had that. And I'm like, then other days following that, I'm like, hey, you have this, you have that. So it's it's very human to go through a fluctuation of I don't have and I do have. But if you're always I don't have, you're always going to be down. You know what I mean? So I try to practice always when I think about I don't have, I then later think about I do have. You know?
So in your video,
Yeah.
you owe it to yourself not to take everything personal. You speak on detachments, which was pretty much was
Yes.
earlier. Like, how do you practice that in a way that still feels human?
Well, that's probably one of my biggest challenges. And I'm happy to say that I've been circumnavigating that for a very long time as well. And when I first moved here, again, culture barriers is such a big challenge over here, like where I am. I might have friends that like to hang out, but their mom doesn't like to hang out with what doesn't really want them hanging out with me. Or I have friends and their friends don't really hang out with people like me. And then, so I came across a point where I would always reach a social barrier. And then the person that hangs out with me is like, it's not that they don't want me around. It's more that how do I keep him safe from this scrutiny? I keep him safe, but I also keep them from being uncomfortable. So it's like the person's now trying to circumvent both sides.
Yeah.
So I found myself only really like kind of being very selective with my friends
Mhm.
because I want to make sure that there are no barriers anywhere, you know? So that was a big challenge. You know, you would sometimes go to certain places and some people don't acknowledge you, don't
Mhm.
want to speak to you, or, you know, they look through you like you're invisible. Like there's experience. You might go on a bus and sit down. I can't tell how many times you get 10, 20 people walk past you to sit somewhere else when the bus is full and you're the last seat they want to sit next to. I got to a point when I had first moved from going to a place like Bermuda that's multicultural, where everyone's everyone, to a
Mhm.
place where some people are not interested and some people are. I went through a phase of feeling, am I not human? And then feeling like I'm better than they are because I treat them better than they treat me. And then I went from that to discard your ego. You're not better, you're just bigger.
Mhm.
Be bigger. That's all you can do. And then I got to a point where no one just no one mattered anymore.
Mhm.
I said, I will always be me. I will always be in my element and be myself no matter where I am. Who doesn't embrace it, that's fine. Who does, that's also fine.
Mhm.
So every day I wake up and I go out in the world, I tell myself, be in control of you and don't allow yourself to be emotionally affected by the people around you.
Mhm.
It's a challenge that I put to myself. It's actually a game that I enjoy playing. How well can I conduct myself today? How much can I rise above negative people and the people that may want to see me not make it,
Mhm.
you know? Because you have people that are out there that also dislike you for no apparent reason,
Yeah.
you know? And then you got people that aren't interested, and then you have people that are antagonistic. And my game, my challenge is there are some of those people I come across daily, and I'm like, I can't wait to earn you today with my composure
Mhm.
because I know you hate it.
Make them very uncomfortable.
You know what I mean? Exactly, man. I'm just like, hey, I'm composed today. I'm gonna drink my coffee when you walk in. I'm gonna smile, say good morning. You're gonna ignore me, and I'm going to continue to smile. And when you walk out, I'm going to continue to smile. I hope you hate that.
Exactly.
You know, so it's my little game that I like play. I don't know where I will be today. I may be in a random place, but if I'm approached or I experience anything of a negative nature, I'm gonna rise above it in such a way they're gonna want to know what life did that guy live that he could just shrug me off,
Mhm. Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, man.
Yeah. You also dropped a gem. This one I really like.
Right.
Few words leave deeper impact. In a content
Yeah.
heavy, always loud world, why do you lean into subtlety and stillness?
Yeah. Now, this will be something you absolutely know. My dad was a talker. That man can talk until the cows come home. And I inherited that trait very strongly. And I've had people say, I've heard through the grapevine, oh, that Rafiq, he talks too much. I'm like, yep, that's true. That is true. I don't take it personal either. Yep, he talks too much. But the benefit of it is I learned how to talk. I learned how to negotiate with people. I learned how to talk people down, how to make people retreat. I learned how to barter and trade my way around the world in situations. But I also realize a person that talks too much appears too friendly And when you're too friendly, people try to take advantage of you, but also take you for a joke. So I had to learn the ability to repress myself when I don't need to speak. And I also had to realize there are certain people that only require a few words, because with those few words, you have a power now, because the little you say to them, the more they think about, the more they're thinking now, the more they're wondering now. You know, he just said that and that. You have them thinking, because the words that you say need to be important. And if you say too much, now you're giving too much of your power away because you're over explaining. And that's something I had to break away from, because I am by nature a very given person. And I feel like over explaining can make that person feel a lot more comfortable. And then I said, hey, wait a minute. I made them feel so comfortable, they felt like they could disrespect me. I made them feel so comfortable, they felt like they can talk down on me. So I had to learn that sometimes you don't need to give people too much comfort. Sometimes you need to just give them enough, and that's it, and let them wonder about the rest. So everyone, I mean, the setting changes depending where you go, what you do, but I learned that when I speak to most people, I shouldn't say too much, and what I say should be very important, and leave that with that person. So, I mean, I have individuals that I deal with on a daily basis, and when I was saying too much to them, I would either get a back and forth, or I will get an undesirable outcome from them. And then I realized it's time to say a lot less. And since I've done that, the outcome is now desirable, you know? So that's a very important power to have. And a lot of us fall into the trap of trying to prove the point. No, if you say a few words, the point will prove itself on its own, and it may take time. But if you try to prove the point to them, then it'll go over their head because you're saying too much now.
That's right.
Yeah. So I might say 5 things to that person. Next week, it might hit them because something happened, but they remember what I said, you know? So that's another very important thing. I try not to get too closed off from people that are making myself kind of reclusive. And I have done that in many ways. Again, a lot of people, I don't know why, but some people are just intimidated by my character. So, especially women, they tend to be very, not skeptical or standoffish, but they tiptoe around you a little bit. So when I say good morning, how you doing? Have a nice day. Then you have some that talk a lot and want a real conversation, and then I talk to them, you know? So I just becoming this more reserved individuals has served me. But the aftermath of that is a lot of people take me too serious. I kind of didn't want that, but it comes with it. There's nothing you can really do. You either be a joke that people can walk over, or you can be somebody that everybody respects. So I would rather be respected. I'm not saying I want to be feared by anybody, but you know, I'd rather to respect. So it's just like, it just has to be that way. And then you have a few people that I'll open up to a bit more. Hey, that guy's actually pretty cool, you know? So yeah.
That's what's up. So you challenged the
Yeah.
cliche of the New Year's resolution by saying, just make a resolution and start. Like, what do you think
Yeah.
holds people back from simply just starting?
I think we currently live in a world where a lot of people just don't have the power and drive, the power of drive, you know? A lot of us lack drive, and sometimes the world is just too much to deal with.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like a lot of us, we run in, we hide in our escapisms,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And we all have escapisms. That's normal. The human has to, what's the word? Uh, decompress. Everybody has to decompress. You know, for me, it's a little drawing every now and then, or my computer. I might play some games, or I might. I sometimes go online and I do a little forex. You know,
Oh,
sometimes I do
yeah, that's
that.
what's up. Yeah.
So I'm just learning that. You know,
It's volatile.
so just different things. Yeah, yeah.
You can get
Diff,
it and it
diff,
can
diff,
go.
yeah, difficult stuff, man. Difficult stuff. But so I'm just I think that people tend to the world has become so complicated today. A lot of us can't deal with the noise, so we go to our escapisms.
Hmm.
And escapism causes procrastination.
Yeah.
When you escape too much, the world and time just goes right by you. So I have a schedule for everything I do. You know, I like to draw every now and then. I like to play my guitar. Sometimes I do it a little too long. I like to game. Sometimes I do that a little longer than I want to. But I now have days for that stuff.
Mhm.
I don't just randomly sit down. There's a system to everything that I do now. I don't just randomly choose to do anything. I say today I will do this. Tomorrow I'll do this. Today I'll do this. I may not touch a game for 3, 4 weeks at a time and just work and do important stuff. And I'm like, this weekend, I'm on my game, phones off. Whoever calls me, too bad. I
Mhm.
have my thing on where my children can call me, and I can see messages from my mom, my brothers, and that, my brother and my sister. So like I'll have that. Everybody else, I'll call them back. I'll
Yeah.
call her back. That I'm like that. Yeah, I'll call them back. I'll call them back. Sometimes it's important to shut everyone else out just for a day.
Mhm.
If you have a day where you just don't answer people, and some people get mad at you. I called you yesterday. Yeah, I was busy. That's all I tell them. No big explanation. Because sometimes we have to disconnect from the phone.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to disconnect from technology because that's another thing. When we use devices, anything that requires large amounts of concentration, you can actually burn more energy with concentration than physical activity.
Hmm.
So, like, you ever see like a truck driver who's driven for like 9 straight hours, he gets home and he's busted, and they're like, all you did was drive. That driving takes a high level of concentration.
Yeah, that's right.
He has to make sure that big truck isn't swerving off the road, hitting bystanders. And if that guy is carrying flammable liquid, he has
Oh,
to be
yeah.
even more focused. So when you disconnect from the technology and the noise and you just put on some music and just lie down, and today I'm just doing my laundry and my cooking, and then I'm just gonna lie down for the rest of the day and chill. Sometimes you need that,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
like just one day, not every day. You have some people that just, you never heard from them, period. But you gotta have one day where you just put everybody on hold, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
You said karma moves without prejudice. What's the biggest
hmm
misunderstanding people have about karma, and how does it influence your choices?
I think the biggest misconception people have about karma is that it always involves negative repercussions.
Hmm.
I think most people associate karma with everything bad,
Mhm.
but people have to understand karma is a system uh, that I think it's more like the inner workings of life in the universe itself, and the way the universe is designed, the way it works, the way cause and effect influences it. Karma is a, a concept, I think, based around just energy in general. When you do something positive, you're gonna, it's not a supernatural thing. It's more like a cause and effect thing that sends ripples through different mechanisms. Like you might do something that affects how somebody feels. That might in turn make them do something to affect you or something to affect someone else. And then it might come back around and get you later on. So that can happen in positive and negative ways. So karma in itself is a positive and negative mechanism. And if you're smart and you're cautious, you can influence your karma by doing things in the best possible ways, you know? So I tell people this all the time. It's very easy to tell lies, but it's very difficult to maintain lies. The reason telling the truth is so easy is because the truth is always the truth.
Mhm.
It's objective, it's not subjective.
Mhm.
It's objective. It is a constant. It doesn't change. If you say, like, you know, I'm a 10th degree black belt, but you're not. One day someone gonna test you, bro. You can get hurt, you know? So it's like, but if you are, someone might test you and you'll prove them wrong, hopefully. So I look at it like this. Your karma will change when you start doing positive things to influence your karma. And it not necessarily all the time it works out that way, because sometimes negative karma hits you as a result of somebody else's choices
Mhm.
and the way those things interact with your world, you know? So this is why in my in my exploration of life currently, I try to do everything as positively and as good willfully as I can.
Mhm.
Because I'm like, hey, you don't know how that's going to come back and get you later on.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So,
makes
yeah,
perfect sense, man.
karma goes every which way, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So who are your videos really for? Like it is a version of you from 5 years ago or someone else entirely?
Well, my videos are really for everybody. I would say a lot of it tends to be influenced by sometimes just random thoughts that I have when I'm walking
Mhm.
or experiences that I have from my day to day. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be things with me. A lot of times it's things that I observe.
Mhm.
I may see things happening around me and I'm like, I can take something from that. I think some people get this misconception that I make these videos as a form of trying to heal myself from situations that I've been in,
Mhm.
you know? I know when I first started the videos, I was doing the walking and talking thing. And I was like, that's great and all, but I don't think it really demands enough of people's attention. So that's kind of why I shifted it to the house. And I was like, well, this is a controlled environment. There's no cars and buses coming across making noise. There's no people bumping into me. I don't have to worry about people around. It felt a little chaotic, but in my house now, it's controlled. The environment looks embracing, and I feel like it gives a different energy. I can now speak to you with a clear mind. I can be focused, undisturbed by the environment, and I can really talk to you the way I want, and you can get that message. So, but yeah, I I think some people may have got the idea that it was a healing journey. It had nothing to do with healing. Um, it had everything to do with a rediscovery of how I viewed the world and the way I wanted to share that with people. Because I was always doing these videos. I started doing them, I would say, I think it was 2017. I was doing Facebook stories
Okay.
and I was doing little snippets here and there. And at the end, I would be like, everybody be blessed. And I would just hit the chest, you know what I mean? And then when I got kind of immersed in what I was doing with life, and then life changed for me. It's like, okay, now I have a little bit more free time. Now I have time to really think more and see more, and that's what made me get back into it. So then it went from be blessed to be blessed and stay safe.
Mhm.
So it kind of shifted, you know what I mean? And yeah, my ultimate goal is I want to help elevate other people's mindsets to this place where I am. They don't necessarily have to be exactly where I am, but I'm hoping that they can get something from it, that they get elevated. Because I feel like with elevation comes understanding, and with understanding comes it comes contentment. You become content with yourself. You become more relaxed and less encompassed by the world. You know, like you become less antagonized by the world. You know how to block the world out now. That's something I've learned how to do to a degree on a daily basis. And I feel like the more people become self-aware and become more elevated, they'll start to appreciate life more, and they will start to behave a little differently that might enrich their quality of life. So that's why I share these videos, because I remember where I was 2 years from today. I was in, you know, a small apartment, with a little bit of stuff. And if I hadn't changed my mindset, I wouldn't be in this place doing what I'm doing right now.
Mhm.
I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful that Allah opened up my mind.
Mhm.
I'm so grateful that I got elevated to this new level of awareness. It's almost like being in a video game and being on level 20, and you get to the max level, but at some point when you reach the max level, you got the cheat code, and the cheat code allow you to completely unravel the entire game and see the game the way no one else sees it. that's kind of how I feel sometimes.
Mm.
I feel like I view the world in a way that so many people don't see it. And if they were able to see it in that way, they would just win, period. And you can't win everything, but they would be winning more than they're losing.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I want for people. I want them in a different to help them reach a better place, you know?
Really. And finally, where can
Yeah.
people connect with your work and follow your journey?
Well, people can follow me on Instagram, on Feek Speaks. Uh, I'm trying to remember exactly how that even looks because I can't remember the Instagram uh the Instagram the way the name's written. But if you have it, feel free to share it if you like. That's fine with me.
Mm.
Um, and I'm also on Facebook, um, where I post my videos, my Feek Speaks videos. I usually connect them from Instagram, but I sometimes share them on Facebook and Instagram at the same time. As far as the artwork, I don't have uh, a current platform for that. I scrapped the old one. I plan to rebrand completely. I just haven't gotten around to it yet because I'm just been so busy with everything else. But the goal is to eventually rebrand my artwork altogether
Mhm.
and start a completely different uh just a completely different artwork brand.
Cool.
And yeah, pretty much that's me
Yeah. We'll definitely
at the
follow up
moment, man.
when you launch that again. When you launch it again or relaunch, we would
Yeah,
definitely
man.
follow up with that, because I've been getting a lot
100%.
of with this work that you did, man. Alhamdulillah, man. I'm
Yeah.
getting a lot of, positive feedback. And
Hey,
people when I
mashallah with
explain to
that,
them
man.
what it is, they're like, "Oh my God, that's amazing." So it's
Really.
yeah, man. Oh yeah.
I and I've improved tenfold since I made that one
So
as well. So
man, yeah. So we gotta do more stuff. We're gonna do more stuff, bro, for real.
yeah, yeah, man. Yeah.
Rafiq, thank you for sharing your wisdom and vulnerability and your unwavering message of emotional truth. Your work is a
Yes, man.
reminder that healing is possible in the presence of power. You know,
Yes.
so
Yes.
until next time, stay grounded, stay real, and speak your truth. Assalamu alaikum.
Hey, walaikum assalam, bro. Hey, be safe.